What's up, guys? And Penn State has lost 4 out of their last 5 games. That's right. After starting 5-0, they are now 6-4 after having a loss to the Michigan Wolverines at home. Michigan was ranked 6th in the nation. They ended up beating Penn State 21-17. Penn State, the game was 14-14. It was tied. They were able to recover a fumble that they forced on the quarterback, McNamara, except unfortunately, after we only got a field goal out of that possession, which is a very common theme of our offense, it seems to be. And it just so happened that Michigan had a game-winning drive, and our defense that's supposedly so elite ended up just crapping to bed, which I'm not surprised at all. But Penn State, they're 6-4. They're 6-4, okay? That loss to Iowa, I get Sean Clifford wasn't the quarterback, but you know what? And I've said this many times. They should have won with Traquan Robertson. They definitely would have won with Sean Clifford. I understand that. But they should have won with Traquan Robertson, but the coaching did him no favors. They showed no confidence in him, and they still should have won that football game, but nevertheless, they didn't. So they lost that game, right? Then, what do? They go on a bye week. They proceed to lose to Illinois at home on homecoming week by 2 points, 20-18. In 9 overtimes. You can't outscore Illinois in 9 overtimes in front of over 100,000 fans and the student section on your side half for those freaking overtimes. Come on, man. Then you lose to Ohio State. Give me that one, okay? Ohio State is the better team than Penn State. I'm not running away from that. I am definitely want to admit that. But you know what? Penn State only lost that game by 9, and they played fairly well. Okay, but if Sean Clifford knows how to come in the clutch whenever it actually matters against teams that are at the level of Penn State or better than Penn State, like Ohio State is, if he knows how to come in the clutch, that game could be a completely different result, okay? If Noah Cain doesn't fumble that ball, if James Franklin, he didn't do anything terrible that game, okay? Right, that whole fiasco with the, what we're doing before halftime, like, are we going to run the ball or not? All those things. That was weird, right? But that ultimately did not affect the game. But what did affect the game is that James Franklin did not affect it, okay? What I mean by that, he didn't do anything negative, but he did nothing positive for this team. When we win, it's in spite of him. And when we lose, most of the time, it's because of him. Not so much the Ohio State game today. 21-17 loss. The offense, they converted 1 drive that was a touchdown. They happened to get a 2-point conversion. Other than that, they got 3 field goals. All right? On the first drive, I liked this call. James Franklin. Jordan Stout, right? Our kicker and our punter. He went on the field and we did a fake punt and it was converted. Nice throw by him. He might end up replacing Sean Clifford, right? That was an amazing play. I liked that play call. It was kind of reminded me of the Rams and Lions game a few weeks ago. The Lions had nothing to lose. Neither do the Penn State Nittany Lions. So why not just do it, right? We got a field goal out of that drive. Disappointing result, but, nice way to start the game. We follow up that drive with a stop. And then we proceed to allow ourselves to go into field goal range. And even though just the previous drive before, we did a trick play on special teams, you think Michigan would be more concerned about that than trying to, say, block the kick, which they were because they're not stupid. What do? Fake kick. Fake field goal. Gets absolutely nowhere. And then James Franklin sounded like, oh, why didn't you throw the ball? Where was he going to throw it to? Nobody was open because the defense is anticipating it. You can't do the same exact play or the same, any sort of special teams trick play twice in a game. Let alone the drive after you just did another one. Okay, the defense is going to be paranoid, and of course they're going to anticipate it. So the one time James Franklin does something good, he follows it up with something stupid based off of the good he did, and therefore it just eliminates it just really eliminates the mood that he's given you, okay? He does this team no favors. Let me tell you something. Since the 2016 Big Ten championship game, Penn State has lost a total of 13 games, right? 5 years ago, 13 games, that's at least 2 losses a season. That's not good enough for the college football playoff. Right? And out of those losses, 10 of those games have been decided by 5 points or less. In all of the games I'm about to list off, James Franklin is not the only reason, but in much of them, he is part of, if not the main reason, why Penn State has lost these games. If Penn State wins these games, they get better recruiting, even better recruiting than they have now, okay? The type of recruiting that they have now, they should not be a 4-loss team. They're 6-4. They were 5-0. I don't care that you're in the Big Ten. That's a hard schedule. I get it. But we're the Penn State Nittany Lions. We should be much better. Okay, James Franklin is holding back this team. All right, I'm not saying we'd be making any college football playoff without him. Maybe. I'm not quite sure about that, but I'm going to say no. But we definitely wouldn't be 6-4 if we didn't have this man at the helm. And it just proves to me that no matter what sort of talent you give this man, and that's if it is the best possible talent possible, which we saw in the 2016 Nittany Lions squad, that he's not going to be able to do crap with it. All right, take a look at this. USC, the Rose Bowl, we lost 52-49. Shootout, you know, our defense should have played better. Yes, Franklin, you know. Okay, just one game, right? Important game, we lost it. 39-38 the next year to Ohio State. I get it. It's in the shoe. It's in Columbus. But you're up by 15 points in the fourth quarter. All right? What are we doing? Some of this isn't Franklin's fault. I'm not blaming all of these games on Franklin. Heck, some of them he might have not have anything to do with the loss. But it's a very consistent theme under one man. The same exact year, next week, in Michigan State, we have that rain delay, right? We're up by 10 points, going into rain delay around 10 points. We lose 24-21. Next year, we play Ohio State in the whiteout. We're up by 2 possessions, less than 7 minutes left. We lose 27-26. We lost by 1.2 years in a row. James Franklin. Okay? This loss isn't entirely on you. But why, whenever running the ball with Miles Sanders didn't work all day, did we run the ball with Miles Sanders directly towards Chase Young, the future #2 overall pick to the Washington football team in the 2020 draft? Why? That made no sense. All right, don't run with McSorley because if the Ohio State's smart, they're going to have a spy because he ran all over him. But you know what you do? Run out of the pocket with McSorley, have a tight end block, and then come out, catch the ball. All we needed was 5 yards. That's probably going to give you a first down, right? That same exact year, what do you know? Homecoming game. We lose 21-17 against Michigan State, right? That team wasn't even ranked. They were, if I remember correctly, that team was only ranked barely inside the top 25, maybe a week or two that season. We are better than Michigan State. We have better recruiting than Michigan State, but we lose at homecoming. Why are we underachieving? Right? There were some very questionable calls in that game that was called at the helm of James Franklin. All right? Like I said, not all of this is his fault. I'm not being a delusional fan who thinks everything is James Franklin's fault, but there's a common theme, right? And because we went 9-3 this year after getting blown out 42-7 by Michigan, right? I get it's away, but 42-7, you can't even put up more than a touchdown. With Trace McSorley as your quarterback, that might have something to do with the play calling, right? We go to the Citrus Bowl. And we looked like crap the first half of that game. We started a little comeback, but at that point, it's too late. Kentucky wins 27-24. Next year, 2019, McSorley's gone. Miles Sanders is gone. You know who is there? James Franklin. On the road. Questionable calls. Sean Clifford's our quarterback now. And like I said, what does he do? Not come in the clutch. Throws an interception on a potential game-winning drive. Overthrew the receiver by a mile. We lose 31-26. This year, 23-20 against Iowa. That loss, not going to put that entirely on James Franklin. If Sean Clifford was the quarterback of that game, we 100% would have won that. And I know Iowa fans are even going to admit that. But with Traquan Roberson, with the resources that he has, and the defense that he has, our coaches showed no confidence in him, and we lost this game 23-20. Right? You could say, oh, the defense, you know, they bailed out. The defense was on the field so much because, yes, Roberson isn't a good option. He's not the best option. He certainly looks like a quarterback who was going in for the first time in the top 4, you know, in an environment against the number 3rd ranked team in the country. But you know what? The coaches show no confidence in him. They could have won this game with Traquan Roberson. Finally, Illinois really cements it, doesn't it? The Illinois Fighting Illini. And it helps me a little bit more that they beat Minnesota. But Minnesota, they're not that great of a team this year, okay? They might win the Big Ten West. Who knows? But the Big Ten West is underachieving this year. There's no clear winner right now, especially after Ohio State beat Purdue. Let me tell you something. 9 overtimes, right? You could say, oh, Sean wasn't fully healthy. I get that, right? Then why didn't you start Roberson? I think Roberson could have beat Illinois, especially with a week of preparation. And even if he didn't and he felt more confident with Clifford, pick who you feel more confident with. If it was Clifford, fine. But you know what? The running, why were we barely blitzing whenever they were running for 350 yards on us? Can Could Franklin explain that? Could the defensive coordinator explain that? Then, why in 9 overtimes do we just ignore Jahan Dotson? I'm not saying, you know, Jahan Dotson is going to get double covered, right? But he can make something happen, all right? So whenever, let's just say, hey, you know, Illinois, they got the ball first in this overtime. They didn't score. It's our turn to score, right, in the 2-point conversion scenario. Why not target Jahan Dotson, let him try to get rid of one man, and then get a one-on-one with another man? Never tried that. We lost 20-18, homecoming game, once again. And wouldn't you guess it? In 9 overtimes, in front of our home fans. We follow this up with a loss by Ohio State, which was a 9-point loss. Played pretty solid. Franklin didn't coach bad that game, but he also didn't do his team any favors. Good coaching could greatly do teams favors in that game. And finally today, in front of over 100,000 fans, in a game that was winnable. Because look at it from this perspective, okay? As far as I'm concerned, if James Franklin is not the head coach and someone who's competent is, I believe Penn State's an 8-1 football team going into this game. And therefore, they're ranked around the same area as Michigan because they're also 8-1, okay? Heck, maybe 9-0. I'm not going to go that far, okay? Ohio State's better than Penn State. They are definitively better than Penn State. But we could have won with, you know, better coaching certainly would have helped us in that game, right? I'm not running away from that, but I also still think Ohio State would have won. So talent-wise, and we are truly at the same level as this team. Jim Harbaugh, in my opinion, he's worse than James Franklin, right? I still think Franklin is pretty bad, but he's worse than James Franklin. So we're playing a team at home that, talent-wise, we are the same exact level as, basically. And you know what we do? We lose to Jim Harbaugh when he's on the road to a man who supposedly, and in a true way, cannot win big games, especially on the road. And this was a big game for his team, whether Penn State's ranked or not. Because this was a trap game for them. It shouldn't even be a trap game. It just should have been a big game if we had competent coaching. But look at this. We lose by 4. Really interesting. You know, it would have been nice if, instead of running the fake field goal, we would have kicked the field goal. So let's just see. Let's factor that in. You know, that would make it 21-20, but maybe we don't go for 2. So 21-19, take it or leave it. It really depends on what you do. You don't think that competent coaching could have helped us win this football game at home? Because Michigan certainly didn't do anything too impressive, right? It was a great defensive game, as I expected it to be. But you know what? Sean Clifford, he's okay. He's above average. But when he's put in a position to win a game against a good team, I'm not talking, oh, guys, look, we beat Bo Nix and, yeah, guys, we beat Bo Nix and Shea Patterson. You know, you barely beat Shea Patterson in a whiteout 2 years ago. You almost allowed that man to come back against you at home in a whiteout when you had all the momentum in the world. But you know what? It's okay. Penn State's notable wins over the past few years, who have they beaten? Well, over the past half decade with James Franklin at the helm, they have beaten Bo Nix, Graham Mertz, and Shea Patterson. For a team that's hyped up every year, and rightfully so. It's not like Texas or, you know, most of the time Michigan, although Michigan's kind of living up to it this year, but they'll still probably end up losing to Ohio State. But as far as I'm concerned, this team should be a team that is playoff caliber, and if they get a little bit lucky, they should get into the playoffs. Why is it that our big wins the past 5 years are against Graham Mertz in the first game of the season, and we barely beat him off a game-winning interception? Right? When Wisconsin, they're looking better now. Then they were at a super-duper low point. Right? Good win. Not taking that away from them. But our program's best wins over the years, over the past half decade, have been against Shea Patterson. Barely. Followed up by Graham Mertz and Bo Nix. Right? Everyone's saying last year Penn State started 0-5. You know, that Indiana game, I don't think Michael Penix was in. Call me biased all you want. I don't think Michael Penix was in that end zone, but I also think it's too controversial to overturn the call on the field. So, okay, I understand that. I get that loss can deflate a team. But if that deflates a team so bad that you lose 4 games in a row, and you can't even beat Maryland and Nebraska. Maryland at home. Somebody tell me. What is the coaching doing in this? Are they not trying to motivate their players? Okay, I get. You follow that game up with Ohio State, and honestly, that's a much closer game than it should have been. That Penn State was never in that game, but somehow they just stuck around with them. It was so weird. But do you lose 4 in a row? And you're 0-5. People say, oh, it's a pandemic year. Okay, I'll give you that excuse, right? Pandemic year, you know, you have a second-year quarterback who definitely didn't look at his best, and, you know, fine. If you want to make that argument an excuse, I'll give it to you, right? Penn State, they have a 4-game win streak. Not against any good teams. But nevertheless, a 4-game win streak. They beat Illinois last year when they started 0-5. Okay, keep that in mind. But now, they start 5-0, right? They have decent wins. You know, a win against Wisconsin when they were ranked. You know, Auburn, Bo Nix. Hey. You know, those are some pretty good wins. Nothing that's going to make you college football playoff worthy. It's nothing compared to beating Ohio State or Michigan State. Solid wins, though, right? But then when we get into the meat grinder part of our schedule, look what happens. We lose 4 out of our next 5. And really, where the program stands right now, it's barely above from what it was last season. We're 6-4. All right? Any chance of us going to a decent bowl game was lost today. All right? Even if Penn State, you know, because in my brain, this team should be 8-1 going into this game. Even if they lost this game with competent coaching, you're still 8-2. And then you play Michigan State. So you know, beat Rutgers, lose to Michigan State maybe, right? 9-3. Give or take, that can give you a pretty good bowl game, right? Not what we're hoping as for Penn State Nittany Lions fans, but, you know, something to build off of, going in a, you know, above average direction. Where we are now, 6-4? Yeah, that's Red Box Bowl material, all right? I don't think anyone in State College wants to bring home a trophy full of Cheez-Its because they won the frickin' Cheez-It Bowl. All right? They want to win the Rose Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, and heck, just win. That's all we want to do, just win. All right? This team, we've been so hungry since we had that, 10-2 season with McSorley, 11-2 season with McSorley and the 2016 Big Ten Championship squad, right? We've been so hungry, and we've had the teams to do it, but the coaching hasn't changed, and neither has the results. All right, I'm tired of sitting here and taking mediocrity or just being above average is good. Because, yes, whenever Joe Paterno left his program, it could have gone in shambles. But right now, we have higher expectations, and as we should. All right, if Penn State would have only lost one game that season, because, you know, obviously they lost 2 games early before they went on their hot winning streak after they beat Ohio State, they probably would have made the playoff. They would have got in over Washington that year, and they would have played Alabama. I would have liked to see what happened. Heck, even if they got blown out, just make it. Have something to build off of. But now we're taking this... We could literally... Okay? In the way Vegas favors the games. They favor us over Rutgers. They don't favor us over Michigan State. So that means that most likely we'll be 7-5. Best case scenario, 8-4. With the expectations that our program has, tell me, Nittany Lions fans, is anyone in Happy Valley seriously okay with what's happening? Because I certainly am not. Okay? People could say, Franklin, not a bad coach. Not a great coach. He's just there. To me, he's this public figure. Okay? He doesn't help the team win. Sometimes, a lot of the times, he helps the team lose. And he goes and he tweets 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, right? Right? Yeah. 1-0. Okay. Motivate your locker room, okay? If that helps, cool, do it. But I want to see results on the field. Okay? Penn State, they're much better than 6-4. They're either going to be 7-5. Heck, they could lose to Rutgers for all we know. But odds are they're either going to be 7-5, and if they win out and they beat Michigan State, 8-6. 8-4. Pardon me. Is that really good enough for you? 2 straight seasons of disappointment? Heck, in my opinion, the past 5 were. But you can't deny that these 2 definitely were. So tell me, What are the excuses now? Where are they? Show me the excuses. I see none. Okay? From what I see, this team is held back by James Franklin. This team is held back by itself. It's a systemic problem in the program. And they are a much better football team than what these final scores are showing. And James Franklin has partially, at least partially, to do with this. Okay? And I don't care. Get rid of Franklin, right? If we have to spend a year or two looking for a coach that's over the level of James Franklin, you know what? If it could give us better results than we're getting right now, then I am okay with that, right? But by the time I'm at the age of being able to go to college, my dreams to go to Penn State, obviously things change. I could go to another college, you know, things change in life, right? But if I go to Penn State and James Franklin is still the coach, I can guarantee you, no matter what recruiting we get, we might have a 10-2 year and stuff like that, but we will always lose to the big dogs like Ohio State, and we will not be good enough with James Franklin at the helm, okay? And I know we're not going to fire him. I know we like to play it safe. But my goodness, if we ever want to see our team back in the Big Ten championship game, and hopefully beyond that, James Franklin's not the man, okay? We're 6-4, and we're heading to the Red Box Bowl, the Pinstripe Bowl, or the Cheez-It Bowl, right? I wonder who our opponent's going to be. TCU? Because we're headed in that direction. These past 2 years have not been good for the program, all right? Even if the next generation of players are better, which I think they will be, which means we might have better records just because they might be able to bail out Franklin once in a while, I promise you, we will not go anywhere near the Big Ten championship game. Or hopefully beyond that with James Franklin. All right, we're 6-4. We've lost 4 of our last 5. The only reason why we won against Maryland was because Jahan Dotson-like things and bailed out the coaching and the rest of the terrible offense that was happening. Penn State, they are disappointing this year. Nothing short of utter incompetence. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a systemic problem, and James Franklin is definitely at least a part of it. He doesn't do anything for this program. He sits there on the sideline and cries about the players' execution, which recently hasn't been good. But you know what? You're not helping them out at all, James. All right, get back to the drawing board, go back to Vanderbilt, or wherever else you came from, and sit there and learn from a team who performs at the level that you coach. Good, but not great, because you're holding back this team. Go to USC, go to LSU, go anywhere. But please, don't ruin the amount of recruiting that we have. Don't ruin the 5 stars that we have. Don't drive away future recruiting. And please, please, be better. Thank you.